For a full year, my agency spent well over $1 million a month on Meta ads profitably. And in that time, we scaled brands past 9 figures in sales, but the spend and the revenue aren't what taught me the most. It's the 12 brutal lessons I learned along the way. The stuff that actually moves the needle in your ad account versus the stuff that's just noise. And it doesn't matter if you're spending $100 a day or $10,000 a day, because at this level of spend, I saw these same things working over and over again, no matter the brand or the budget. So I'm gonna give you all 12 of these and save you years of trial and error, starting with lesson 1, there's no magic algorithm. The biggest thing I learned after spending tens of millions of dollars across 250 brands is there's no magic fucking algorithm hack or campaign structure that tickles Zuck's pixels and blows up your ad account. And here's why. Meta's a bidding platform. All it cares about is how much money you feed the damn thing. And what determines how much money you can feed it is one thing, which is your acquisition model. And your acquisition model is made up of 2 parts. You've got your front end model, which is the offers you use to acquire new customers, which is what sets your cost per acquisition and your day 1 return on ad spend. And then you've got your back end model, which is the offers you use to keep those customers buying from you, which sets your lifetime value and determines how much you can spend to acquire a customer. And don't worry, we're gonna break down exactly how to build both of those over the next 2 lessons because they're the foundation that everything sits on. But here's what you need to understand right now. The biggest brands scaling on ads, this is the thing they've got dialed in. And if you don't believe me, look at the top spenders on Meta. Temu spends around $3 billion a year. Amazon spends $1.2 billion a year on Meta, and Procter & Gamble spends $400 million a year. Now, do you think those brands are scaling because their team found a fucking targeting hack? No, of course not. Like, that's retarded. They're winning because they have unreal acquisition models that allow them to outbid everyone else in the auction. And it's the same pattern we noticed with our biggest clients that scaled past 8 figures. They all had strong acquisition models that allow them to keep bidding on their ads. So instead of focusing on hacks to beat the algorithm, focus on building a model that allows you to keep feeding money into Meta profitably. The sooner you embrace that, the better results you're gonna get. So to help you nail the first part of your acquisition model, let's go into the next lesson, building a killer front-end offer. Every brand we scaled that brings in thousands of new customers each month had front-end offers that did 3 things. And once you see these 3 things, you can't unsee them, and you'll be able to create winning offers your market can't refuse. So 1, it gives people a desire they actually want. 2, it delivers that desire in a way nobody else can. And 3, it has strong economics, meaning it's priced high enough to survive paid traffic. And I want to show you this across 3 different brands doing millions a month on Meta ads in completely different industries. So you can see this is just a universal pattern. So let's start with the e-commerce brand Athletic Greens. The desire they help people achieve is having more energy throughout the day. The unique way they deliver that desire is with a supplement that gives you 75 plus vitamins and minerals with a single scoop. And the price is $79 a month, no free trials or single servings, which gives them the economics to acquire customers. Next, let's look at the software company Hyros. The desire they help people accomplish is scaling their ads. The unique way they deliver that is with a plug-and-play tracking software that guarantees to scale your ads 15 to 25% with no extra changes to your business or you don't pay for it. And the economics work because they sell on contracts with longer commitments, so you're paying thousands of dollars up front and tens of thousands of dollars over time. And finally, let's look at the service company Gym Launch. Their desire is helping gym owners make more money. And the unique way they deliver that outcome is with a licensing program that guarantees $100,000 in revenue added to their gym in 12 months or they don't pay for it. And the economics work because the program's around $16,000 on a pay-as-you-go structure, so they can afford aggressively to acquire new customers. So 3 completely different markets, same 3 boxes checked every single time. So the lesson here is to hold your front-end offers up against those 3 boxes and be brutally honest with yourself. Does it give something people genuinely want? Is the way you deliver it obviously different and unique from everyone else? And is the price high enough that you can afford to buy customers with paid traffic? If any of those 3 things is a no, that's the thing you need to fix before you touch your ad account, because you can't create a weak front-end offer. That is going to fuck your results. So now that you know how to build front-end offers that bring in new customers, let's go into the second half of your acquisition model, which is the next lesson, building a deep backend. The majority of brands we work with that scaled the fastest and had the highest lifetime value all had what we called a deep backend, meaning once a customer came in their door, they had a suite of different products the customer could buy to give them everything they need to get the end outcome they're after. Because in most cases, your customer will not get the end outcome they want with just one of your products. Let me show you a few different examples to really drive this home, starting with the brand 4 Patriots. They're a survival and preparedness brand, and the end outcome their customers want is to be self-reliant during emergency situations. So let's say someone comes in the door by buying one of their emergency food kits. They then realize if the grid goes down, they need power, so they buy one one of their solar generators. Then they need clean water, so they buy a water filter. And they keep buying their products to better serve the end outcome thereafter, and as a result, 4Patriots' lifetime value increases so they can spend more money to acquire a customer. Same thing in my own agency. My backend allows me to make over $1 million from single clients because the outcome my clients want is to scale their revenue. So once they come in from my front end offer and get results, I cross-sell them different services like meta ads, TikTok ads, Google, email, CRO, and creative offers. And all of those offers better help them achieve the end outcome thereafter, which is scaling their ads and revenue. And as a result of that, that increases my lifetime value so I can spend more money on ads to acquire a client. So when you're building out your backend, first define the end outcome your customers want. Then build a roadmap or a product ecosystem you can build over time that better serves them in achieving that outcome. And the key thing here is you don't need to roll out all of your products at once. Roll them out one at a time and integrate them into your upsell flow and sales process. And keep adding it over time until you have a deep backend. So when a customer comes into your world, you know the journey you're going to take them on to extract as much revenue as possible from them while better serving them. And that's the whole model. Front end to acquire customers, back end to extend their value. So now that you know what you're feeding into the auction, let's talk about what actually gets people to buy, which takes us to the next lesson: test messages, not creatives. After launching thousands of creatives, I can tell you the biggest variable in whether an ad wins or not is not the creative format or the editing. It is the message of the ad. So what the ad actually says, because different messages for the same product can perform 100 times better than another message. I saw this firsthand in my own business. When I was scaling my agency, I had a few different selling points I could lead with. I could lead with how my agency was a pay-as-you-go model, or I could lead with the fact that we had a 10x ROI guarantee, or that we were a full stack agency. Now, instead of testing all of these different selling points in one ad, I made separate ads for each one to see what message would work best. And the results completely shocked me. That 10x ROI message didn't just win, it completely buried everything else. It got more than 20 times the demand of all the other messages. So I doubled down on that 10x ROI message. That's when I realized just how much weight the message carries. Like, there is no other variable in a creative that carries that much weight. So here's how you actually find winning messages for your brand in 2 steps. Step 1 is finding out which desires and selling points your market responds best to. So start by testing ads that call out different problems and desires your market wants, and highlight different core selling points to see what your market responds best with, like what I did with my 10x ROI. Once you know that, move on to step 2, which is figuring out what style of pitch works best for your market. And there are 4 main pitch types: story ads, direct ads, education ads, and proof ads. And if you want the exact scripts for these ads, go get a free advertiser's playbook, links in the description. But here's what you need to understand. Different markets respond better to different styles of pitches. For example, if you're selling a B2B solution, meaning business to business, those people are time poor and want evidence your shit works. So direct ads and proof ads tend to work best for that type of market. But in broader, more skeptical markets like fitness, stories, and education tend to work great because you have to earn the trust before you can make the ask. Now combine these 2 steps together and you'll be able to bang out messages that get your market to pull out their credit card and buy. And once you find a winning message, the next step is to squeeze as much juice out of it as possible, which leads us to the next lesson: maximizing winning messages with different packaging. Real quick, if you want to scale your ads further, go get a free advertiser's playbook. It has 100+ for winning ads, emails, and split tests, and full workflows we use every single day to scale brands. Links in the description or the first pinned comment. So go grab that. And with that being said, let's get back to the lessons. Across thousands of ads we launched, one of the clearest things we saw is the exact same message performs wildly different depending on how you package it. So once you find a winning message, your job isn't to immediately find another one. It is to package that message in as many different ways as possible to create more winners. And the first way to do this is by testing different formats. And you've got video formats and static formats. For video, you have formats like podcast, interview, B-roll only, voiceover, raw UGC, just to name a few. On image, there's text only, sticky note, iPhone notes, and countless others. And a message that does good in one format can completely explode in another. Like, that's what exactly happened with my 10x ROI message. As an image ad, it did all right, but nothing crazy. Then I ran that same message as a video ad instead, and it completely took off. That is the version that allowed me to scale up my agency further. Now, nothing about the message changed. They both said 10x ROI, but the packaging is what changed, and that is what allowed that same message to unlock further scale. The second lever you can pull is actors. And this one gets underused massively. Running the same message with people of different ages, genders, and ethnicity doesn't just refresh the ad, it opens up entirely new pockets of buyers because different buyers relate with who is in the ad. For example, we looked at the purchase data on one of our accounts and we noticed that most of our buyers were in their 50s and 60s, but most of the actors in our creatives were in their mid 30s. So we made new ads with older actors, which allowed us to find more winning ads. So the lesson is that a winning message isn't just one ad. It's a batch of winners waiting to be made. So have a pulse of the different creative formats you can test and have different actors you can use that open up new market segments, and you'll multiply your winners much faster. Now, everything up to this point has been about what you launch. The next lesson is about how fast you launch it. And it's the one thing that separates the accounts that grow from the ones that just sit there, which is speed times volume equals results. What became very clear as we scaled brands is two things. One, the faster we launched campaigns, the more winning ads we found. Two, the more volume of campaigns we launched, the more winning ads we found. And those two things aren't separate. They both do the same job, which is tightening your feedback loop. Because what Meta fundamentally is a feedback loop machine. You launch an ad, the market tells you what it thinks, and you adjust based on feedback. So you do more of what works, less of what doesn't, and then you repeat that loop. So speed decides how quickly that loop starts, and volume decides how many loops you're running at once. So the mental model I want you to ingrain when you run ads is speed times volume equals results. So when we're scaling accounts, to give you an example, a lot of times we'll go from an ad idea to launching that ad the same day, not weeks later. And we're creating hundreds of ads a month for volume, and then iterating based on data to do more of what works and less of what doesn't. And that is what strengthens our feedback loop to find more winners. And don't take my word for it. Meta themselves reported that the top 0.1% of advertisers test 11 times more creative than the average advertiser. So this is just a law of success on the platform. So the lesson is twofold. One, build speed. So don't be a perfectionist. The only way to know whether your ad works is to get it live. There's been plenty of ads we think completely suck that end up crushing it for us. Two, increase your volume of campaigns. The more campaigns you launch, the more feedback you get, and more feedback means faster iterations to find winning ads. So speed and volume are how you find more winners, but how far you can actually push those winners has nothing to do with creative. It comes down to simple math, which takes us to the next lesson, knowing your numbers. So much of scaling ads, I realized, comes down to simple math. Whether we're scaling a brand from 6 to 7 figures or from 7 to 8 figures, it all starts by setting scaling projections. And here's what I mean. Let's say a client has strong metrics. The first thing we ask them is, what's the goal? So let's say they're $250K a month and their goal is to scale to $500K a month. Once we know the goal, the first thing we do is reverse engineer the math required to hit that goal. So we'd map out their current ad spend and their cost per acquisition and average order value, and then project out what our spend needs to be to hit $500K a month. So for easy month, say we're spending $100K a month to make back $250K a month. If we want to ramp to $500K a month, we'd have to ramp to $200K a month in ad spend if all other things stayed equal. So now once we've got that number, our entire goal after that is to scale ad spend and close that delta of $100K a month in spend using the two methods I'm going to share in the next lesson. So instead of scaling being some mysterious miracle, it's just a simple math equation. We know our inputs and outputs. So the lesson is to lean into the numbers instead of avoiding them, because the numbers are where the clarity is. Before you try to scale anything, set the target, work backwards to calculate the ad spend required, find the delta between what you're spending now and what you need to be spending, and then pour everything into closing that gap. Now, knowing the number you need to hit is one thing. Actually going out and closing that delta takes the right mindset and the right strategies, which takes us to the next lesson, scaling what works aggressively. Here's a trait we saw over and over in the accounts that scaled big. When their ads were working, they weren't afraid to double down and pour more money into the machine, because that is the whole power of meta ads. When you have a good hand and strong economics, you can reach massive amounts of scale very quickly. But these windows don't stay open forever. Your ads can fatigue, competitors can come in and try to take market share. So when you have a good hand, you want to capitalize on that momentum right away. If you're timid and passive, you never win big with meta ads. It's that simple. And that's how we help scale a brand to over 100 million in 36 months, not by finding more winners than everyone else, but by aggressively scaling the ones we had. And we did that in two ways. The first way is through media buying to scale winning ads. And we did this through vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Vertical scaling is when you raise the budget on winning campaigns by 20 to 50%, and you keep raising it as long as the return holds, and then you pull back the moment it drops below your threshold. Horizontal scaling is where you take that same winning ad and duplicate it across new platform audiences, lookalikes, different bid strategies, and different campaign types, so it's scaling for you in more areas. The second way we scaled fast is through making variations of winning ads. So once we had a winning ad, we'd remake that same ad in different formats, different actors, and changing the hook slightly. So we weren't trying to invent a new winner, we were trying to clone that winner into as many different shapes as we could. And that combination is what let us scale winners dramatically further in shorter time frames than most of the brands around us. So the lesson is, when something is working for you, be bold in your ad account. Your instinct should be to push it as far as possible before it breaks. And you do that through vertical and horizontal scaling and by making variations of your winners, because good hands don't come around often. So bet big when you got one. Now, scaling aggressively means more of your money's on the table, and the more money on the table means more room for error with your emotions, which is exactly where most people undo everything they've built, and that leads us on to the next lesson: remaining rational. Managing millions of dollars a month in spend taught me that emotions kill when you're running ads. If you're emotional when you run ads, you're gonna overreact to short-term noise, and you can make single bad decisions that completely fuck up your results. And here's why that matters more than people think. It is absolutely guaranteed that when you run ads, at some point, your ROAS is gonna tank. Whether your funnel breaks, or maybe there's more competitors that come in that make your product less novel, whatever happens, at some point, your results are going to drop. So if the bad days are guaranteed, the only variable that you can directly control is how you respond to them. And here's a perfect example of this. One of our clients dropped $30,000 a day in sales overnight. And when this happened, the client completely panicked, the Slack channel caught fire, and the client's telling us all these different things that we should implement to improve performance in the ad account. But before we did anything and let our emotions get in the way, we looked at the data first. And what we noticed is traffic costs were the same, but our conversion rate completely tanked almost overnight. So when we dug into the conversion rate, what we noticed is that we had almost no PayPal orders coming in, when previously our PayPal orders were 30% of our orders, which was very odd. So when we looked at the checkout page, what we noticed is that anyone who tried to process an order using PayPal couldn't, because the button was broken. So all we had to do to fix this $30,000 a day problem was to fix the damn PayPal checkout button. That was it. If we had panicked and let our emotions get in the way, and let's say made a bunch of changes to the ads and media buying, we would have completely fucked up the business, because everything was working as fine. The only problem was the PayPal checkout button wasn't working. So the lesson here is to leave your emotions at the door when you're inside an ad account. Make decisions based on data and logic instead of impulse. And when you do decide to act, change one thing instead of 10 variables at a time, so you know what actually moved the needle. Now, staying rational helps you stop doing the wrong thing, but it doesn't tell you what that right thing is. And figuring that out requires a skill set that most advertisers never build, which takes us to the next lesson: becoming full stack. One of the core things we had to develop to scale brands past 8 figures was a full stack skill set. And what I mean by having a full stack skill set is having 3 core skills. 1, you know how to generate traffic. 2, you know how to convert that traffic into customers. And 3, you know how to get those customers to keep paying you. And you need all 3 of those skills. And here's why. Your ads will scale until they hit a natural bottleneck. And that bottleneck becomes your constraint. And that constraint is always going to be in one of 3 areas. It's either a traffic constraint, a conversion constraint, or a revenue per customer constraint. And having all 3 of those skills is what lets you look at the whole board and correctly identify which of those is actually holding you back. Because if you don't have all 3, you get man with the hammer syndrome. So say you're really good at getting traffic with creatives and media buying. If your ads plateau, let's say the real problem is actually a conversion bottleneck, you're going to try to solve that bottleneck with more creatives or media buying, because that's the only tool you have. And you won't actually fix the root cause issue, and your ads will stay stuck. We see this all the time. A great example of this is a fitness client we had. They were selling a challenge offer for $97 and getting really good results for it, but then their ROAS started to decline when they started scaling the offer up. So to fix it, they started testing a bunch more creatives and all these different targeting solutions, but nothing was working. Now, when I looked at their account, I noticed they had a really strong conversion rate and their ad costs were great. Like, their conversion rate was 4% on cold traffic, and I knew it was highly unlikely they could just get that to 8% and drop their CPA. So what I did instead is I said, hey, what we should do is build a back-end coaching offer that's 10 times the price that we could upsell people who come from the challenge who want more hand-holding and support. So we did that, and we got 5% of low-ticket challenge buyers into that high-ticket coaching program, which completely changed their return on ad spend and allowed them to keep scaling their ads. And the reason I was able to see that solution in the first place was because I had a full stack skill set. So the lesson here is to develop the full stack skill set and keep sharpening all 3. Don't let yourself be dependent on one thing. So learn conversion, which means landing pages and split testing. Learn ascension, which means back-end offers and product suites. And learn traffic through creatives and media buying. And then when you do hit a bottleneck, here's the process to fix that. Map out your funnel end to end and look at your 3 numbers, which is your traffic costs, your conversion rate, and your revenue per customer. Those 3 make up your return on ad spend. And then compare those numbers to where they are today against when things were working well. And find the one that slipped the most or has the biggest area of opportunity to improve with the least amount of effort, and then pour everything into fixing that. Now, that's how you find the one big thing that's holding you back. But there's a way to keep growing that doesn't require anything to be broken at all. And almost nobody does it, which brings us to the next lesson, optimizing your funnel. Doesn't matter if we're working with a brand doing $100,000 a month or $5 million a month. Almost all of them completely neglect optimizing their funnel. And it makes sense because it's not sexy. They'd rather launch more creatives than spend time running split tests and revenue optimizations, which is a damn shame because little optimizations in the right areas can create massive impacts to your ROAS. For example, we added personalization into one of our clients' upsell flows, so someone who bought one product got upsells customized to what they actually looked at using a new plugin. And that one thing 5x the client's upsell revenue, and this client was already doing millions a month. So massive impact, and it didn't take that much effort. Another time, we took on a client, and all we did to add an extra 6 figures a month in revenue was 10x their follow-up email volume on their automations. So this is not sexy stuff, but it produces massive results, and the best part is, it's directly in your control, and your competition's not doing it. So the lesson here is to constantly ask yourself, how can you make your funnel sharper? Because your conversion rate and your average order value are not fixed numbers. They're just where you happen to be sitting right now. So if you got the traffic for it, run a split test every week on your highest traffic pages to beat your control. And then test different offers in your upsell flow to increase your average order value and add more follow-up throughout your sales process. Now, optimizing makes what you already have work even better. This last lesson is how you get brand new winning ad ideas without having to invent a single one. And that's modeling what's already working. Here's something that might surprise you. Most of the $1 million ads we produce for clients did not come from novel ideas. They came from us looking at what was already working in the market and then building our own unique version of it. And that makes sense when you think about it, because there are brands in your market right now spending tens of millions of dollars a month figuring out exactly what your market responds best to. That is a massive research budget that you didn't have to pay for. You can just tap into it. So here's how we do it. For every brand we work with, we build a list of the top players in that market, and we include both direct and indirect competitors. Direct competitors sell basically the same thing to the same market. Indirect competitors sell something completely different, but to the same people chasing the same desire. For example, say you sell fitness equipment, your direct competitors are other equipment brands. Your indirect competitors could be supplement brands and workout apps because they're selling to your exact customer, but solving that same desire with different products. Then we go through that list we created and we look at their top creatives. And because we already know which messages work for a brand, when we spot a new creative format or idea that we haven't tested, we'll take that format and wrap it around our proven message. And remember what we said about packaging. A winning message in a new format can produce a completely different result. And that is exactly why this works so well. And we produce a ton of winners this way. So the lesson here is don't try to reinvent the wheel. Study the top players in your space, both direct and indirect, look at their offers and creative formats, and model them with your own unique twist. It's the fastest way I know to find more winners, and you're doing it with everyone else's research budget. So those are the 12 lessons I learned spending over $1 million a month on Meta for a whole year. Now, if you found this video helpful and you want 100+ of our winning ads, emails, split tests, and full workflows we use every single day to scale ad accounts, go get our advertiser's playbook. It's 100% free, and it's like a cheat code for scaling your ads. So go grab it, links in the description or the first pinned comment. I'll see you inside.